Did you know that there is something hidden that could be damaging your thyroid right now without you even realizing it? Millions of people feel constantly tired, gain weight for no reason, and experience mood swings, but they don't know that the cause could be thyroid inflammation. And the most incredible thing is that this happens because of a daily habit. If you have ever experienced any of these symptoms, this video is for you. In the next few minutes, I'll show you what this hidden problem is, and most importantly, how you can start fighting it today. 3 days ago, I received a 42-year-old patient who arrived at my office in despair. She had gained 15 kilos in 6 months, slept 10 hours a night, but woke up exhausted. And her memory was so impaired that she forgot conversations she had had the day before. 5 different doctors said her thyroid tests were normal. But when we discovered the real villain that was inflaming her thyroid, everything changed. In 60 days, she had regained her energy, lost 18 pounds, and felt like herself again. What we discovered that day completely changed my approach to thyroid patients. And today, I'm going to share that secret with you. When women come to me with symptoms of fatigue, weight gain, and discouragement, the first thing that catches my attention is not just the blood test, it's their story. The way she describes her body, her routine, her feelings. Because tests often don't tell the whole truth, they show numbers, but they don't show real life happening. And real life leaves traces that cannot be ignored. In recent years, I have seen a pattern repeat itself. Women over 60, many of them active, who have taken care of their families and worked their entire lives, now want to finally take care of themselves, but their bodies can no longer keep up. They start to gain weight inexplicably, even without changing their diet. They sleep long hours but wake up exhausted. They lose interest in things that used to excite them. And worse, they feel like they are aging too fast. What we have discovered is that, in most cases, it is not just time or age. It is thyroid inflammation. Silent but devastating. And here's a point that many don't realize. This inflammation doesn't come out of nowhere. It is fueled every day by small habits. What's most striking is that, in many cases, the real culprit is so naturally present in the routine that it seems impossible to suspect. A patient once told me, "Doctor, if it were that simple, I would have figured it out already." But the truth is that the simple is not always obvious, and that is precisely what makes this problem so dangerous. I want you to imagine the following: a pot of water on low heat. The water does not boil immediately, but the constant heat gradually changes the temperature. This is how thyroid inflammation works. You don't wake up one day with all the symptoms at once. They appear slowly, settling in quietly, until you get used to them and think they are part of who you are. And when you realize it, you are already living with a body that no longer responds, a mind that can't keep up, an energy that seems to have disappeared. But here's the good news. Just as inflammation builds up over time, it can also be reversed. The body has an incredible capacity for recovery when we stop adding fuel to the fire. And that's what I want to talk about. There is no age limit for regaining vitality. There is no expiration date for recovering energy. I've seen women in their 65s and 70s look at me with emotion and say, "I thought I was doomed to live tired, and now I feel alive again." The first step is to understand that there is a trigger, a seemingly harmless habit that keeps inflammation going. It is related to the way you eat and organize your routine, something that may have been part of your life for decades. It is not about a radical diet or impossible restrictions. It is about identifying what, within your routine, is sabotaging your thyroid every day. I know that at this point, you must be curious to know exactly what it is. But before I reveal it, I want you to understand the impact of ignoring this process. When thyroid inflammation is not controlled, it creates a domino effect. First comes fatigue that won't go away. Then your metabolism slows down and you gain weight for no reason. Your memory starts to fail, your mood swings, and even your heart can feel the consequences. Many women think it's just part of aging, but it's not. It's your body crying out for help. And what hurts me the most is realizing how many women spend years suffering in silence, believing that they are exaggerating, that it's all in their head, or that they just need to accept it. No, you don't have to accept it. You can take action. You can break this cycle. And the sooner you do, the greater your chance of regaining not only your health, but also your joy of living. I want you to remember one thing. An inflamed thyroid is not fate. it is a consequence. And every consequence can be changed when you understand the cause. What I'm going to show you next is exactly that. The silent cause that triggers inflammation of your thyroid and how you can start to neutralize it today. What is most surprising when we talk about thyroid inflammation is that it does not manifest itself in a loud way. It's not like a sharp pain that makes you rush to the hospital. It is silent, constant, and, precisely because of this, deceptive. Most of the women I treat only realize that something is wrong when the accumulation of symptoms has already become an unbearable burden. But the truth is that this process can begin years earlier. I'll give you an example that illustrates this very clearly. A patient of mine, Mrs. Lucia, 63, came to me saying she didn't understand why she was so tired. She had always been active, walked every day, took care of the house, and enjoyed getting involved in social projects. But suddenly, it seemed that all of this had become an impossible effort. Her body wasn't responding, her mind seemed slow, and she cried easily for no apparent reason. The tests she brought showed that her thyroid was normal, but I already knew from experience that numbers can be deceiving. I decided to investigate further. We discovered that, without realizing it, she had been reinforcing a daily habit that kept her thyroid in a constant state of inflammation. And when we corrected this issue, her body responded within a few weeks. Now, you may be wondering, what habit is this? Anyway, the big villain, in many cases, is in our daily diet, specifically in choices that seem harmless but cause an inflammatory reaction in the body that directly affects the thyroid. I'm not talking about obvious poisons like cigarettes or excessive alcohol. I'm talking about foods and practices that for decades have been considered normal, even healthy, but which in women over 60 can become a direct trigger for inflammation. Think of something you consume almost without thinking. It could be at breakfast, in your afternoon snack, or even at that moment when you believe you are taking care of yourself. These are choices that have been part of your routine for so long that they have become automatic. And every day, your body receives this inflammatory stimulus, as if a spark were thrown onto the same flame that never goes out. This is where many women make the mistake of believing that there is no way out. They think, I've been eating this for 40 years. It doesn't make sense for it to be the problem now. But that is exactly where the mistake lies. The body changes, and its response over time is not the same as when you were 30 or 40 years old. In maturity, sensitivity increases, the body reacts differently, and what was once tolerated becomes fuel for inflammation. This is the kind of detail I see constantly in my office. A patient insists that she has always done it this way, and therefore dismisses the possibility of being wrong. But when we manage to break through this resistance and she agrees to try a change, the transformation comes. Often, within 30 days, she reports more energy, less swelling, mental clarity, and even a significant improvement in mood. This does not happen by chance. It is the body responding when you remove the weight it was carrying without knowing it. I want you to imagine your thyroid as your body's power plant. When it is inflamed, it is as if this power plant is constantly short-circuiting. Energy doesn't flow as it should, and the whole system suffers. That's why you feel tired, your metabolism slows down, and your mood swings. Now, when you remove the daily trigger that causes this short circuit, it's as if you finally give your body the chance to function harmoniously again. And the question every woman asks me is, but why has no one ever told me this before? The answer is simple. Because the traditional healthcare system is used to looking only at test numbers. If they are within the normal range, the doctor concludes that everything is fine. But you know it's not. You feel in your body, you feel in your soul, that something is not right. And that's where the difference between treating tests and treating people comes in. I don't want you to see thyroid inflammation as an invincible monster. I want you to understand it as a process that you can stop. It's not about restrictive diets. It's not about miracle drugs. It's about identifying what keeps that fire burning and starting to extinguish the flame. From the moment you become aware of this, your life begins to change. And I'll say this up front. When we talk about this specific habit, it's not about eliminating it completely overnight, but about adjusting, learning to replace it, reorganizing your routine so that it ceases to be a constant presence. And the beauty of it is that when you make this change, it's not just your thyroid that thanks you. Your whole body responds. You feel more energetic, sleep better, lose bloating, and think more clearly. It's as if a curtain that was covering your vitality began to open again. And here I return to the phrase I repeat to my patients. An inflamed thyroid is not destiny. It is a consequence. And every consequence can be transformed when you understand the cause. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you clearly how to identify this hidden villain in your daily life and what simple steps you can take to start fighting it today. The time has come to talk clearly about the villain I have so often encountered in my office, hidden in the daily lives of the women I treat. The habit that most fuels thyroid inflammation after age 60 is on the table every day. It appears in the white bread at breakfast, in the cookies that accompany afternoon coffee, in the pasta that seems like a light dish for the evening, and even in the homemade cookies that seem harmless. I'm talking about the excess of refined flours and hidden sugars, which accumulate in our routine as if they were innocent, but have the power to silently inflame your body, especially the thyroid. You may think, but doctor, I've been eating bread my whole life and never had a problem. And I understand that reaction, but there is a fundamental difference. Today's body is not the same body as 30 years ago. At 60 or 65, sensitivity to refined flours and sugar is much greater. The inflammatory response intensifies, and the thyroid, which already works like a delicate power plant, begins to suffer constant stress. The result? Persistent fatigue, weight gain even without overeating, swelling, muscle pain, and even emotional swings that seem to have no explanation. What many women don't realize is that this habit is not restricted to visible sugar. It is hidden in foods that appear healthy: processed yogurts, breakfast cereals, cereal bars, boxed juices, products that carry the label light or fitness, but in practice dump the same inflammatory trigger into the body. I have seen patients proud of having switched from soda to boxed juice, believing they were doing themselves good, but in fact, they only changed the way they inflamed their thyroid. I want you to think with me. Every time these foods enter your routine, they cause spikes and drops in energy, forcing the body to deal with an internal roller coaster. The thyroid, as the body's powerhouse, suffers directly from these imbalances. And when this happens every day, at every meal, no test can immediately show the true extent of the damage. It is a silent but persistent process. Now, here's what always surprises my patients. You don't have to cut everything out at once to see change. The secret lies in reducing frequency and, above all, replacing foods intelligently. I'll give you some clear examples that have worked for dozens of women. Swap white bread for a truly whole grain version, made with grains and fiber. Replace filled cookies with fruit accompanied by nuts. Swap refined pasta for whole grain versions, or even spaghetti-shaped vegetables. These changes seem small, but they have a huge impact, because when the body stops receiving that inflammatory trigger on a daily basis, the thyroid begins to recover. In a few weeks, it is common to notice less swelling, more energy upon waking up, and even an improvement in mood. A 68-year-old patient told me, excitedly, that she felt like walking in the morning again after years of avoiding exercise due to sheer exhaustion, and it all started with simple adjustments to her diet. I know it can seem challenging to change habits that have been with you for decades. Many women tell me, but doctor, I love my coffee and bread rolls. It's the best part of my day, and I never take that away immediately. What I do is show ways to transform that pleasure into something that doesn't harm your health. Instead of white bread with margarine, how about real whole wheat bread with olive oil or avocado? Instead of industrialized cake, how about a homemade recipe with more natural flours and less sugar? It's not about losing pleasure. It's about exchanging destruction for nutrition. And here's something fundamental: awareness. When you understand the impact that a simple food can have on your thyroid, the choice is no longer just a matter of taste. It becomes a matter of life. Because in the end, we're not just talking about weight or energy. We're talking about maintaining autonomy, mental clarity, and quality of life after 60. And there's nothing more valuable than that. I want you to always remember, inflammation is like a fire that feeds on small sparks. Every white bread roll, every filled cookie, every glass of artificial juice is one more spark. If you decide to cut out half of those sparks, you give your body a real chance to put out the fire. And when the fire goes out, life blossoms again. I could cite countless examples of patients who have seen real changes by taking this step. Women who reduced their consumption of refined flours and, in a few months, lost weight, improved their memory, and even regained their self-esteem. Because when the body responds, the mind follows. And when the mind feels clearer and more alive, everything around it takes on new meaning. So my advice is simple. Start small, but start today. Don't wait until you reach the point of complete exhaustion to change. Choose one meal of your day and make the substitution. Notice how you feel. Give your body a chance to show you that it still has vitality to offer you. In the next few moments, I will take you even deeper into this process. I will show you how to organize these changes without suffering, how to make the adjustments a natural part of your routine, and, most importantly, how to notice the signs that your thyroid is thanking you. Often, when I tell a patient that their daily bread roll, afternoon cake, or seemingly harmless juice may be behind their fatigue, mental confusion, and weight gain, their first reaction is disbelief. It is common to hear, "Doctor, that can't be true." If it were true, someone would have told me before, and I understand that reaction. It's hard to believe that something so simple could have such a big impact. But the beauty of medicine that goes beyond tests is exactly that, realizing that transformation lies in the details. I remember a patient named Helena, 66 years old. She came to me with the same story that so many other women tell, tests considered normal, but a life that no longer seemed like hers. She went to bed early, woke up exhausted, and felt body aches as if she had run a marathon. Even without exercising, she looked in the mirror and no longer recognized her own face. The sparkle in her eyes had disappeared. We talked at length, and when I explained the relationship between diet and thyroid inflammation, she looked at me suspiciously but agreed to try it. Helena decided to start slowly. In the first month, she replaced the French bread she ate for breakfast with a whole grain version and gave up the cookies she used to eat at night. At first, she thought it wouldn't make a difference. But in 3 weeks, she noticed that she was waking up with more energy. In 6 weeks, she reported that her memory was clearer and that she no longer forgot simple messages as she had before. And in 2 months, she had lost almost 5 kilos without going on any restrictive diet. When she returned to the office, she said something to me that I still remember today. "I thought I was doomed to live tired until the end, but today I feel like I still have a lot to live for." That's the difference between accepting inflammation as fate or facing it as a consequence. When you understand that you can intervene, the power returns to your hands. And that changes everything, because we're not just talking about aesthetics or numbers on the scale. We're talking about regaining autonomy, about being able to decide to walk without pain, about having the mental clarity to talk to your grandchildren, to read a book, to take care of yourself without depending on help all the time. The contrast is clear. Before the change, life seems heavy, slow, as if each day were a battle against your own body. After the change, the same women describe a rebirth. They laugh more easily again, make plans again, feel that their body is an ally, not an enemy. And this does not happen by chance. Thyroid inflammation affects every part of the body. When you stop this process, the transformation is not limited to one symptom. It spreads throughout your whole life. And I want you to see yourself in this scenario. Think about what it would be like to wake up with real energy, not just feeling like you've slept, but with a real desire to live the day. Think about looking in the mirror and realizing that the swelling has gone down, that your skin looks more alive, that your mind is clear. Think about having confidence in your own body again, without the constant fear that it will let you down. That is the reward for small, consistent changes. And here's an important point. The transformation doesn't just happen in the body, it also happens in the way you see yourself. Many patients come to me feeling guilty, believing they have done something wrong or failed themselves. But when they realize they were just repeating habits taught as normal for decades, guilt gives way to relief. They understand that it wasn't a lack of willpower, it was a lack of clear information. And that realization brings enormous lightness, because it liberates. I want you to think of what we've discussed so far as a turning point. You don't have to wait for your body to cry out before you change. You don't have to accept exhaustion, weight gain, and mental confusion as an inevitable part of life. On the contrary, you can choose right now to break this cycle. You can give your body a chance to recover, and believe me, your body will respond. Even after 60, after 70, I've seen impressive responses. I'll share another case to illustrate. Mrs. Celia, 71, came to my office believing that there was nothing more to be done. She had already seen several doctors, was taking a huge list of medications, and said she was resigned to living tired. Together, we decided to make simple adjustments to her eating routine. She gradually eliminated the excess sugar hidden in the processed foods she consumed and began to choose more natural options. In 3 months, she told me that she wanted to leave the house again, that she felt joy in the little things again. What changed was not just her body, but her life. It is this contrast that I want you to remember. The before is marked by fatigue, swelling, mental confusion, and loss of self-esteem. The after is marked by energy, clarity, confidence, and hope. And all of this is within reach of a decision you can make right now. You may think it's too late, but it's never too late. The human body has an incredible capacity for recovery when you stop hurting it on a daily basis. Inflammation doesn't have to be your destiny. It can be just one chapter, which you decide to end today to write a new story. And if there's one message I want to leave you with right now, it's this: you are not alone. Thousands of women are going through the same process. Many have already discovered the power of small changes and transformed their lives. And you can too. In the next few minutes, I'll show you how to consolidate this path. I'll show you how to apply it in a practical way in your daily life, how to maintain consistency without giving up pleasure, and how to build a routine that protects your thyroid and restores vitality to your life. Now that you understand how much your thyroid influences every aspect of your life, I need to give you a clear warning. Many women wait until the problem becomes too big to seek help. When the symptoms reach the point of interfering with daily life, the body has been crying out for help for a long time. This delay is what turns a simple sign into a snowball that is difficult to control. It is no exaggeration to say that ignoring thyroid health can be very costly. It can cost you your energy, your self-esteem, your memory, and even the freedom to enjoy your maturity. I have seen brilliant women who had active lives stop traveling, going out with friends, and taking care of themselves because they believed they were aging too quickly. The truth is that it wasn't their age. It was their thyroid screaming for attention. Your body is always sending you messages. Unusual fatigue, hair loss, anxiety for no reason, persistent swelling, mood swings. None of this is just normal. These are reminders that something needs to be looked at now. The sooner you act, the faster your body responds and the easier the road to recovery. This warning is not meant to cause fear, but awareness. You don't have to wait until you hit rock bottom to take action. Maturity is too powerful a phase to be wasted on symptoms that can be prevented and treated. If you feel that something is not right, the time to take care of it is now. The body always regenerates when it receives the proper support. But that regeneration begins with your decision. If this content made sense to you and sparked reflections on how to take care of your health in a more conscious way, I want to invite you to take the next step with me. Here on the channel, every week I share practical guidance, real stories, and new insights that can transform the way you see your body, your choices, and your maturity. So, if you haven't subscribed yet, take this opportunity to subscribe and activate the bell. This way, you can be sure you won't miss any content that may be exactly what you've been missing in your self-care journey. Write in the comments where you are watching me from. It's amazing to see this community forming with women from different places, realities, and experiences. Each comment is a way of showing that you are also part of this movement of transformation.